So today we're taking a look at the first SAP battleships that I have access to. I am not a community contributor yet, so I actually don't have the ability to play any of these, so I'm unlocking them all just like you guys through the armory. So I have access to tier 5, and I really wanted to give my first impressions on SAP battleships for you guys. It's a live recording, so we'll just see how the game goes, but let's hop into one. And my initial reactions to a SAP battleship is that it's going to be really, really, really good. That's my initial thoughts. That's just based on my experience with Cruiser SAP, and Cruiser SAP is very, very, very good. The reason I say that is SAP gets the benefits of both HE and AP without really the downsides of either. So armor piercing gets the benefit of high alpha, but the downside is you overpen or you bounce a lot. Whereas HE, you don't bounce or overpen, but you get lower alpha damage. The thing about SAP is you get the high alpha, you don't overpen, you can still bounce, but the auto bounce angles are a little different, I believe. I should double check that for the battleships. I haven't actually checked that, but at least you don't have the downside of bouncing, or sorry, overpenning, like AP does. So you get a lot of the alpha. We're nearly the same alpha, you can see that. We're only a couple hundred lower than our armor piercing. And we're guaranteed to never overpen. And that's one of the biggest issues that battleships have, is that they overpen a lot. And that's what oftentimes brings down their damage. So having a battleship that suddenly never overpens is, in my mind, going to be very, very, very strong. We'll see. This is my initial thoughts about it. This is my first game. I haven't played any games in these Italian battleships at all yet. Outside of Roma. But Roma's been around for a while, and it doesn't have SAP. I actually have not had any experience with the Italian battleships with SAP. So we'll see how this goes. I think they want a Brawl. It seems like they want a Brawl, so we'll just go into the channel down here and see what we can do. Lots of destroyers. So we're gonna have to be careful of torpedoes. I am running vigilance on this, so we should be not okay, but we should be decent, I guess, would be a good word for it. Now SAP obviously won't really work against these destroyers because the SAP will just overpen. He's basically stopped. Alright, it's fine. So the SAP will not crush destroyers like you might think. You know, considering the Italian cruiser line absolutely demolishes destroyers. That's not necessarily going to happen here. But we do have some secondaries that are actually kind of useful on these lower tiers. So we're expecting overpens here. Or overpen worth of damage. And yeah, that's what we get. But you can see if you hit a lot of shells, you're still going to do pretty decent damage, I would say. You know, 5,500 if you hit 7 shells, it's pretty good. Now, I don't know what the accuracy is going to be like. I've been told, well, not told, but I've seen the stats of some of the higher tier battleships, and the accuracy parameters and Sigma and all that does not look amazing. It looks kind of bad, in fact. Alright, let's see if we can hit this Texas. You don't have terribly good pen on your SAP. I think it's like 70-some millimeters at this tier. So you do have to be mindful. You want to hit armor plates that actually... I should be just shooting these. He's getting spotted like this. You want to be shooting armor plates that you're actually going to pen. So a Texas, we should pen basically everywhere. Yeah, 13k. That's pretty solid, honestly. Now, I'm going aggressive here. Very aggressive. Nothing we can do against the Langley, so, you know, he gets his drop-off, whatever. Good for him. Could have turned into that, but... Actually, that did a lot more damage than I thought. Langley torps are kind of good. I never played this tier, so I actually don't know. Alright. And now we're on for some armor piercing. Because I spy a cruiser. And we want to hit some armor piercing on that guy. Oh damn! I should not have slowed down. Beating 2? Please no. Ow! Had a flood. Brutal. I knew this was a possibility though, of pushing in like this. So fair point. Unfortunately, the Langley is going for me basically exclusively. Try and make it as hard as possible. AP's not bad, of course. And again, by hard as possible, I mean that the way you deal with cruisers, or sorry, carriers, dive bombers, you want to have them drop you across your ship like this, because their ellipse looks like that, like a big old vertical pattern. So you don't want to, you don't want them to drop from your bow or your stern. The thing about these lower tier battleships, they're often really heavily armored. And by that, I mean their upper belts and this stuff are all like 100 millimeters or more, potentially. And that is really, really bad for your sap. For sap to be useful, you really do want... Oh, good torps, Nicholas. For sap, you really, really want to be hitting battleships that have the more modern, I guess, style of armor. The higher tier style of armor, where, for the most part, it's a lot of citadel protection and not very much on the upper belts. I'll use Yamato as an example. You get over 400 millimeters on the citadel as armor protection, but your protection on your upper belt is only 32 millimeters. That is why sap is so good at high tiers. And it's maybe not the best at lower tiers, I think. Venezia can get some pretty devastating volleys. Now, this is a cruiser at close range. We'll see what happens. You know, he's going broadside. It's all good for us. This is armor piercing. See? You get overpens. If I had sap, I would not have overpenned that guy. And that's where... Sure, AP, you have the possibility of doing that maximum alpha of 8,100. But the way the game is these days, honestly, I feel like you're not really citadeling all that much these days compared to years gone, because if you don't know, you can overpen a citadel, which is, I know sounds insane, but it is possible. So that's where these sap battleships, I think, might be a lot of fun for me. Yeah, guaranteed full pens. You hit 5 shells, you do 12k damage. That's pretty nice. I gotta say, that's pretty nice. Do I want to keep pushing here? No. No, I do not. That guy's AFK. That's good. So we'll focus on the people who are not AFK. If you want to win games, like this game is very close, you want to leave an AFK alone. There's no point in shooting it. Kill the people that can actually win the game for the enemy team. Come on. Turrets are turning. That guy's really slow. A lot slower than I thought. Still though, 60k damage so far? Damn, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We might have to go up and deal with that Orion yet. But I think we're pretty safe here. This ship has a lot of guns. For a tier 5? Like... What the heck? Wait. 3, 6, 9, 11, 13 guns. What a weird number. For some reason I thought it had 12. Did this guy give up or something? Like, that dispersion's not bad. If that holds into high tiers, it's pretty good. Of course, we're hitting saturated areas, so we're not necessarily getting the most value out of sap. Sap, you want to hit areas that aren't saturated. That's how you get the biggest hits. But we're not overpenning. And not overpenning is a pretty nice feeling, guys. I'm not going to lie with you. I will not lie. Overpenning is one of the most frustrating parts about a battleship, and to have an ammo type that never does that, not bad. Not bad. Did I overestimate our ability to turn? Perhaps. Perhaps I've made a mistake. Yeah, that Orion's dead. Very good. So the unfortunate thing about this line, of course, is that you're dealing basically no damage to destroyers. That's a bad shot. I didn't expect him to turn right away. That will likely miss. Yep. And we got through the turn. Nice. So to deal with destroyers with this class, or this line, is going to be really difficult. Really, really, really difficult. At this tier, at least the secondaries will pen destroyers. And that's why I have a bit of a secondary build, you can see. My secondary range isn't amazing, but it's 6 kilometers, and that's probably enough for this tier to deal with DDs that want to YOLO you. The main issue with the high tier ones is your 90mm secondaries actually only pen 15 millimeters of armor. And with IFHE, they only pen 18 millimeters of armor. And the problem with that is your superstructure on your high tier battleships is 19. Superstructure on high tier cruisers is also 19, I believe. And destroyer armor plating is also 19. Sure, destroyer superstructure is lower, but yeah. The secondaries are basically there to light fires on battleships. So an interesting buff for this line, I think, would be giving the 90mm secondaries the ability to pen 19mm with IFHE. Maybe even force you to take IFHE. You know, I wouldn't mind that. Like, the problem is your sap's going to do very little damage to these destroyers. And in fact, I should be using AP. Your AP has slightly higher alpha, so as we all know, overpens deal 10% of your maximum alpha. Then you should be using your highest alpha you possibly can. Slow down and turn in. So it's going to be tricky. Battleships already have a really tough time dealing with YOLOing destroyers at high tier. Because basically you can't really do much damage to them. And even if you do load HE, like a lot of people say, oh yeah, just load HE. That guy's dead. Just load HE. Well, your HE is going to hit turrets, torpedo tubes, AA guns, different modules, and it's going to deal basically no damage to the ship itself. So a lot of the times, actually, loading HE is a worse option than loading AP against destroyers. Yeah, it's crazy. So dealing with destroyers is going to be really hard. With this class, even more, or this line, sorry, even more than the rest of the class. That have decent secondaries or actually have the ability to shoot HE. There we go, 76k. That's a pretty good game. Let's go into another one. Let's do 2. I think 2 games sounds good. I think this is going to be a fun line if the ships are like this one. Yeah, I think the fuel smoke, the smoke generator this line gets, is going to be a lot of fun. I think having a battleship with the ability to give itself smoke and run in with that is going to be a lot of fun to push in with. The smoke will let you get into those really advantageous positions as a battleship. That's what I've been trying to do with a lot of my secondary and brawling battleships these days. That's why I run concealment on my secondary battleships, which a lot of people think doesn't make sense right at first because they think, well, you need to tank as much as you can if you want to brawl. But the key to brawling is not necessarily the tanking when you're in the brawl. The key to brawling is getting forward enough to brawl. That's the tricky part, is actually getting in range to brawl. So that's where concealment allows you to get a little bit closer to the enemy without getting spotted, and it allows you the comfort of getting into different positions better on different maps. So different maps have islands that, you know, are pretty good almost checkpoints or save points where you can get to them and you can feel somewhat safe. A great example is this island right here. You can push And you know what? We're going to do that. We're going to make this push. So we're going to go up through this island chain here and push up to this island right here. And the reason for that is none of the enemies north of A can shoot at me. I love this. I love this map, actually. Because you're forced to decide, these guys, is it worth committing around here? As a battleship, often it isn't, unless there's a lot of people here. As a battleship, you'll often want to go through here if there's pushing opportunities. If there's a lot of people here, you definitely want to kind of stay around here. And on this flank, this side specifically has the cool push of going up through this island chain right here. And I love maps like this that allow you to push in somewhat safely. That's the biggest problem, and the reason why battleships are staying at the back these days is you're not going to want to push in when everything in the game is designed around killing you if you push, right? DDs with their torpedoes and smoking up and shooting, yeah, they kill you pretty quickly when you're pushing into them. That's why you don't want to push into them. Cruisers with HE spam over islands, or even just open water HE spam at higher tiers, kills you pretty quickly. And battleships these days, honestly, they kill you fast from the back of the map, like a Thunder or Conqueror. The HE is really, 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 really strong. And of course, we all know what carriers can do to a ship that pushes in, right? So don't have to really mention that. This is the tier 6? Looks like a Julio. The tier 5 premium. Although it gets the 90mm secondaries. See that? My secondaries are actually better, even though they're these, you know, kind of casemate mounted ones. These are, I believe that was 120mm secondaries. So they actually have the pen to do something. Yeah, I would love to see the secondaries be able to just at least full pen destroyers. Because you don't have HE to deal with DDs at close range. At close range, HE does work against DDs because you're more guaranteed to hit the actual hull of the ship. At longer ranges, that's when I use AP against destroyers because you're often getting plunging fire and you hit modules and stuff and you're going to deal very little damage. Is this guy going to come with me? Oh, this could be fun. This could be really fun. I'm excited. I love this push on this map. This is one of my favorite spots in the entire game. King George is pushing in. That guy's gonna die very quickly. He has no armor, and he's pushing into the open where all these people can shoot him, and now we'll be able to shoot him. But for me, these guys aren't able to shoot me. It's pretty nice. Now, I wish I had AP here, because a Koenig has... Oh, wait, I do have AP. Whoops. Well, a Koenig has a lot of casemate armor, like a really good amount of armor on it. We overpen, we didn't really do much. But if the ship you're shooting at has a lot of armor on its upper belt and deck, SAP's going to do basically no damage, because you're just going to shatter. So learning when to shoot SAP and when to shoot AP is going to be the key to this line, at least at lower tiers. Higher tiers, their armor is like this, where just don't hit their belt and you're basically guaranteed to open. But led that enough? Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, man, SAP is really good, guys. Oh, man, it's good. This guy is pushing with me. Let's go. That's so cool. Look at us go. Pushing in battleships. Feels good, man. Did that get over? Some of it does. 7K, not bad. Probably shoot this guy again, in all honesty. This guy's gonna come brawl! Oh my goodness, I'm loving this already. But, I mean, it requires no... Oh, that's a destroyer right there. Alright, turn out, run. Turn out, run away! We're gonna switch to AP for this Cavoir? I have no idea how to pronounce these. I'm also going to hold my turrets back here. Oh, we didn't kill him. Because we want to be angled for this guy. And at least have our guns ready to shoot him. Maybe in the Citadel even. Don't quite have secondary range on this guy. This guy does! He has a secondary build! Oh, that's so good. Oh yeah, 19k, that's pretty spicy. That's a pretty spicy shot from a tier 5 battleship. I mean, obviously the big problem with secondaries that aren't the premium American battleships is that they don't hit anything ever. Oh, look at that accuracy. One hit? Yeah, pretty good. We should kill this guy. Get him in the superstructure-ish. Oh, not quite. It's okay. What do we have up here? Wait, is the Colorado coming in? No, right? If the Colorado comes in, I kind of want to stay here. But if he doesn't, I want to, like, push around here. Like, that would be more interesting. Are they both going? Oh, if they're both going, I need to stay. He is going. Is this guy? They're both going. Okay. We must stay. We must stay. I was thinking getting a flanking route up here would be a good idea. Still might be a good idea with the New Orleans coming around. I am running expert marksman on this ship. I saw in port the turret traverse was 60 seconds, so it's really, really bad. That's why my guns might be traversing just a little bit faster. But 13 guns on this ship, man. That's crazy. Hello? Think. Man, this is such an interesting game. I like this. Four overpens again. Can you shoot me? No, they're gonna shoot that guy. I am gonna shoot this guy though. Broadside? Do we overpen his Citadel? Let's see. Yep. Not completely, but yep. Now, see, he angled, so we actually are in a better position. Actually, are we? Does he bounce me? He does bounce me. Too bad. Oh, can we get some both sides action going? That'd be pretty sweet. I think we got some both sides action going. We'll switch back to sap since we're not doing amazing damage right now. The reason I'm sitting broadside like this to this guy is he's going to have a tough time banning me. Just the way these lower tier battleships and their armor schemes are. You can see the secondary accuracy is pretty bad. Nothing to write home about. It will be interesting to see how our sap does against an angled cruiser. I'm curious. What do we think? No bounces. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. 80k this game? Pretty decent for a tier 5. I don't actually remember what the average I should be searching for in a tier 5 is. I know in a tier 10 it's around 150 is a good game. Yeah, 80 is probably pretty good for a tier 5. And yeah, he's broadside, but it's unlikely we Citadel at Colorado. Just aim for upper belt. Get some sap pens. 6k, it's alright. See if we can get in secondary range again. Man, like, Sap feels really good, guys. It feels really good. I think the big problem will be accuracy at the higher tiers, is what it seems like, and range. I believe the higher tier ships don't have amazing range. Oh, he shot me. Bounce. Oh, it's so satisfying. Oh, 13k, and he was saturated too. Yeah, Sap is pretty good, man. Sap is pretty good, dude. Not overpenning is with basically armor piercing, because that's what our alpha is. It's nearly what our armor piercing is. Yeah. Pretty good. He should pen here. Yeah. He aimed for the upper belt, or upper nose, which is definitely pennable. Nice. That was a good couple of games back to back. That was fun. I should probably let you guys see all this. 34 secondary hits. 81 main target hits. 11 overpens. You see, when we shot AP, it's just overpens. It'll be interesting to see the breakdown between the different ammo types. Yeah, Sap, 47 shell hits for 50k. AP, 34 hits for 47k. Interesting. So you do want to still switch to AP if you can get Citadels, it seems. But if you're not sure what to do, I think shooting Sap is probably the way to go. And keep in mind, at this tier, we often have battleships that are armored in such a way that your Sap is worse. So Sap is actually better at high tier. 34 hits on 230 shell hits fired. Yes, good job, Wargaming. Thank you for making secondary builds basically useless. Good job. Even though they said they're not changing the efficiency of secondaries. Okay, sure. Sure. It's an interesting ship. If you want to know why that guy, that Colorado was able to pen me, it's because of this right here. He overmatches this. Earlier, he hit my belt. You can see it's 130 millimeters. At this kind of angle, it's just going to auto bounce every time. Yeah, but he overmatches right through that, so that's why that hurt. But you see what I mean, where this armor, you're going to have a really tough time penning it with Sap. Your Sap has 79 millimeters of pen, so if you shoot Sap into this, you're just going to shatter. Whereas at higher tier, if you notice, we have a lot less upper belts that are armored like this, right? Just look at how weak this is. 32, 32, 32, 50, 57. Like, battleships at high tier are not hard to hurt. Much larger superstructures, way worse armor against high explosive, and now sap shells. And that's just all around, right? Like, look at, like, Montana's the same, you know, you get, what, 38? Yeah. The only ones that are really going to pose much of a threat are going to be something like a Kremlin. But even still, you know, 150, you're not going to go through that. But the deck armor, if you get plunging fire, you'll go through that. So I think sap is going to be very, 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 very strong. And I'm excited to play with it. I'm a little nervous about it being a little bit too strong and a little bit too all easy to use. But this tier 5 sure was fun to play. If you're wondering what my captain build is what it looks like. I do have gun feeder to make the reload faster. I do need to get Sansonetti with more skill points. So maybe when I grind out the rest of this line, I'll run Sansonetti and grind out the final skill points for him. But the reason being, you get 75% less time taken to switch shell type with gun feeder, which is really, really, really strong. Vigilance, because if you're pushing, which this line seems like it wants to do with its fuel smoke and close range, or shorter range guns, and a little bit more shotgun-like dispersion. Seeing torpedoes is definitely useful. I am doing secondaries. It's likely that this is not going to be good for higher tiers, but at least at this tier, you can see we have 120mm secondaries, and they pen 20mm of armor, which is decent enough, you know. And concealment and Deadeye. I mean, pretty standard, right? Conceal Deadeye, you just see it everywhere. But supposedly they're changing that? I don't really know how it goes, but hopefully they give us free captain respecs when they do decide to change Deadeye. And then there's what the modules look like. Could take secondary battery mod if you wanted to increase your secondary range further. I think getting more main gun accuracy is probably the way to go. 6.8 versus 6 kilometers. It's up to you, but personally, I think secondaries are kind of a bit of a joke these days. So running it like that would be good. So that's the SAP first impressions, guys. Pretty good, honestly. It looks promising for battleships, honestly. Just hope it's not going to be too strong. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.